Grace, thanks so much. Well, we also just got some new polling on the Stimulus Act. Critics say the president should be focused on creating jobs rather than fighting the Arizona immigration law. Today, the White House is trying to convince the country it's doing both. But another just off the presses Fox News poll shows that most Americans have their doubts. 40% think the stimulus has created hardly any jobs at all. Only 5% say it produced a lot of jobs. 29% say it produced some. Well, part of the effort to highlight stimulus project involves those big green and white signs some of you have seen. You've been driving down the highway and you see these things. They advertise a project that was paid for with the stimulus dollars, sort of, you know, your stimulus dollars at work, see, project funded. Well, they look like this, but now we are learning that at least one of these signs costs some $10,000 to make and install. 10 Jeezels for a single sign? How on earth can that be? Major Garrett is much better at math than I am, and he is live in Washington with the latest on this spending spree. 10,000 beans for one sign?
That's for a sign near the Dulles Airport in suburban Virginia, not too far from where I'm standing right now, Megan. And let me tell you a story that is relevant to this back when the Recovery Act passed. At the time, the administration was very emphatic about how transparent this whole process was. And I was talking to a Democrat about this, and I said, what's another way of thinking about transparency? And the Democrat said, marketing. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, we're going to have a lot of signs. We're going to tell the country exactly what we mean when we're talking about spending Recovery Act dollars. And that's what's going on right now, Megan. Hundreds of thousands of dollars being spent in Illinois, Pennsylvania, and across the country. And according to Republicans, upwards of $20 million so far out of the stimulus has been devoted to this signage, letting people know that these projects in their communities have been funded by stimulus dollars. And as you might imagine, House Republicans in particular find this to be a waste of taxpayers' money. Here are a couple of them in order: Mike Pence of Indiana, Darrell Issa of California.
We just think it's wrong to use $20 million of taxpayer money to build signs to advertise a stimulus bill that is failing to get this economy moving again.
This is, in fact, a form of government paid-for advertising, not just for recovery, but also for the president's reelect, for governors, for congressmen. It's wrong. It's propaganda.
Now, the administration says these signs are not at all different from what's mayors do and governors do in their own states to advertise what's going on. The taxpayer dollars are, in fact, financing. And, of course, there's a White House response to all this. It was brought up yesterday, Megan, at the White House briefing. Here's part of Robert Gibbs' defense of the signage and the cost attached to it.
I'm glad that Republicans have noticed the nearly 11,000 road projects that are underway this summer. We have encouraged states to let people know how their tax money is being spent. Some post signs, some don't. I believe that as a matter of spending, those signs account for about 3 cents out of every $100 that is spent on the recovery.
Megan, politically, this controversy is really a sign of the times. The administration knows if there was greater public appreciation and satisfaction with what the stimulus had accomplished so far, this would not be an issue. But polling data, not just ours, but across the spectrum, shows most Americans don't believe the stimulus financing has improved the economy nearly as much as the administration said it would or that they expected. And because of that, this controversy, once simmering, now appears to be taking on a life of its own.
Major, do we know how much? Okay, so that one sign cost $10,000. Do we know what the overall cost is for these signs? Because I'm thinking, you know, maybe you could just put out a website and people could just go check out the website if they were so interested, rather than spending thousands of dollars on the signs.
Well, of course, there is a Recovery Act website that you can go to and monitor. Overseeing. Exactly, the one you can monitor all the stimulus spending, find out exactly where it's going, not just for road projects, but green jobs, everything else. It's actually, by my experience, one of the most transparent websites the government's ever put together on federal spending. It doesn't have a separate part of it reserved, however, for Recovery Act signage. Maybe that's something they'll think about in the future, but quite clearly the administration is going to keep these signs going, don't believe it's a taxpayer waste, and want to have those signs where they are, for the reason not only of explaining how taxpayer dollars are being spent, but who's spending them on their behalf, meaning the President of the United States.